We got rappers making devil shoes, and we got Disney superstars getting fired for mean tweets. This is not gospel. What is not gospel? Well, our hope, right, is to talk about interesting stuff that you're going to enjoy, you're going to appreciate. Bring you some news. If you like your news, just facts only.
But a little spicy.
Well, see, I think we're not, well, if you like your news with no spice, bland potatoes, then this is not your show. If you like your news, if you like a little gravy on your biscuits,
That's right.
Let's say, or if you like, salt and butter, then this might be your show. We're going to give you some facts. We're going to talk about some interesting stuff. But at the end of the day, we're going to give you our opinions on it. So it is what it is. And who are we? Joel Jackson, dude. Other than being a good friend of mine for a long time, now it feels like a long time. How long have we been friends?
Okay, almost 2 years since in April, because I came out with you guys, Seventh Time Down. Scoop brought me out as the videographer, and the first time I think it was April or May, and I remember I met you guys like the tour bus was already going, and you guys met me in Indiana. And everybody was asleep, and I met everybody like the next day.
Okay. Well, it felt like a lot longer to me, but
Crazy.
I feel like we've lived a little,
dude.
a little life
we've
together.
we've probably seen each other more than I've seen most people I've known for 10 years because of the tour stuff.
Yeah. Well, and you basically live together when you're touring like that. Which
it.
touring's not a thing anymore. COVID,
That's right.
I mean, maybe it will be.
I think it's coming back, but whatever,
All right, so to a little bit more about you, we're going to introduce ourselves. Since it's the first podcast, guys and girls, you guys don't know who we are. Hopefully you do, but if you don't, Joel Jackson, he is lead singer of a band One Life, called One Life. Yep. How long have you been doing that, Joel?
That, believe it or not, has also been about 2 years. So, here's the deal. I've been in Christian music.
He was also born 2 years ago.
That's right. Everything is 2 years ago. No, so yeah, we basically do like Christian music. We're working on a record with Mikey right now. Mikey Howard, the singer of Seventh Time Down. And kind of switching to do like more worship type stuff because I lead worship at churches. I do videos and whatever. So I'm kind of like branding myself as like kind of Christian worship band dude. I guess that's what you think. And suicide prevention advocate. Like that's kind of my thing, I guess.
And then you spent the better part of 4 years writing, producing, directing, starring in your own full-length feature film, right?
Yes.
Gosh,
and
you're so gross, man. So talented.
Here's what I tell people. I'm just bored. I'm just bored. I'm just bored, and I work hard for stuff that I want to do, and sometimes I'm getting in the middle of it, like the movie.
I'm bored. I'll go make a movie. Tell us about your film. Rock for Jesus was the name of the film.
Yep.
And so walk us through that.
Okay, so I myself, as an musical artist, worship leader, kind of doing music for the past decade or whatever, I have never necessarily hit the big time, having like a Christian radio hit or whatever, but I was in a band 7 years ago that was doing really well locally. We were playing shows. I mean, sometimes we did this one show, there's like 7,000 people, and we had a big music video that we released. It was the first video I'd ever done, and this is 2011, and music videos, as far as local bands, no one's really doing them at that point because it's hard to make them. It's hard to, we don't have cameras that are, the really crappy cameras were like $3,000 back then. But all that being said, was in kind of a big local Christian band, had a lot of personal issues go on, bad breakup, was kind of in the spotlight at a church and with this band, had a lot of people with their eyes on me, made a couple of bad decisions and fell from grace, got suicidal, and ultimately came through that. And after I came through it, I was like, I feel like I just experienced a movie. So I spent the next 4 years of my life making a movie called Rock for Jesus. And the whole thing behind the name is like, I specifically chose a very corny name because in my opinion, sometimes the Christian industry, Christian things can be a little cheesy. It's just a little cheesy in nature.
No, never.
Never.
Never
so
cheesy.
So that's why we did that, and it was like, so you watch the movie, but the movie poster was like super dark, and it's like this dude with a guitar and this girl in a wedding dress. And like you can just tell, you're like, oh, this is not like you would expect the poster for Rock for Jesus to be like some dude, and it's just like
you're just out there in the crowd.
Yeah, in the
gigantic.
crowd, and it's like, but we were like, the whole name behind it was super intentional.
You know, my thought for you could do a Rock for Jesus worship record, and my thought for it would be, I think there's a new worship record, the album cover, the artwork. I think this is gonna just explode. You have a white album cover.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you've got the silhouette of the crucifixion, like Jesus on the cross, like a black silhouette, right?
Yeah.
Right in the middle of the black crucifixion silhouette, a little blue surgical mask over Jesus's face. I'm just saying.
Wait, like for COVID or like?
Yeah, basically.
There it is.
I really think it'll go viral. I think, you know, you just have your brand new worship record. Like, I did hear a theory from one of my friends who's super educated. I respect this guy a lot.
Yes.
And his theory was the mask thing, because somebody was telling me this could be a vicious rumor. This could be total junk.
Yeah.
But somebody was telling me that there's a new strain of the virus that's coming out that
I heard about that.
You can have no symptoms, you're not sick at all, like no fever, nothing, but you still got it.
Yeah.
So somebody told me that Fauci said because of that, you should still wear your mask, even if you're vaccinated or anything. And my friend, who's very well educated, is a lawyer, he told me, he said, he's a Christian. He said, I think the mask thing, he says, I don't believe it has a whole lot to do with the protection, you know, of
everyone's
virus and all
touching
that
the
stuff.
same stuff.
He said, and the proof of that would be if you've got a virus that has no symptoms and doesn't make you sick, what's the purpose in protecting yourself from it? Who cares?
Who's wiping the gas nozzle off after we
Yeah.
do the thing? No.
Well, his thought was, he believed it is a little bit deeper. He believed that it's to hide the image of God from the world, to remove the image of God from the world, because we're made, scripturally, the Bible says we're made in God's image and His likeness. So cover our faces and take the image of God away from the world. And I was like, I don't know how legit that is, but that's a pretty interesting theory.
It's interesting when I go into I don't like to go out in public with the mask thing, because to me, when I can see somebody's face, I can tell in their face, are you going to do something crazy or whatever? Yeah. And so I feel like when I'm out in public, like nowadays, it's like I don't know anybody's motives, and it freaks. It freaks me out, dude. I'm like, I can just tell, like with the facial expression, I'm just seeing these eyes, and it makes everybody look terrifying.
It's way disconnected way of living, in my opinion.
And the thing is, I'm not, like I said, I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, I knew a guy that was like anti-mask, anti-vax, flat earth, like this dude is everything. He's all the things. And that is not me. But I'm like, here's my deal. I'm like, we're just putting, like, if you're gonna make everybody wear a mask, like, dude, you better tell them to wipe down everything, wipe down the doors, because everybody's touching the same stuff.
Yeah.
And they're not like.
All right, so Joel Jackson, again, super.
Everybody hates me now.
Super talented, brother. I'm jealous of you all the time. You're super talented. A little bit about me. I am Cliff Williams. I'm in a Christian band. I have
Awesome Christian band.
Oh, bless your heart. We have toured almost every state in this nation and a little bits and pieces all over the world. Joel, I have my professional music career can almost vote. I think I've been doing this almost 18 years.
Well, this is what's crazy. So, like, dude, even like within my movie, like, granted, I'm not saying like you guys would have like made it in the movie, but events that happen, like we played a show with you guys back in 2011. I remember meeting Mikey and hearing you guys sound check, and it's interesting because like you're not in the movie, but like I was like a huge fan of you guys. Like right before I moved to LA in the movie, I'm listening to Just Say Jesus over and over and over and over again.
Dang. Well, make me. Gosh, I just made myself feel old. I dated myself.
I think it's awesome.
So, anywho, since then, COVID, like we said, shut everything down, shut a lot of touring down. So this week, we can talk about this week. We can talk about the news, some of the stories that have happened this week. While crazy things have been happening this week, we've been living a little bit of life. Since there's no touring really. I found myself doing some weird stuff. People are like, "Where's this going?" Well, I'm a soccer coach now. So what happened? And I've coached my first game. I'm talking like 5 and 6 year old kids. We're the Red Wildcats, by the way, and we are awesome. We're very handsy for a soccer team because I don't know how to get the kids to stop. They barely know where the out of bounds is, but they are like shoving. I mean, 5 and 6. My kids are fierce on our team, and they're mostly girls. And they're just out there like when they get around the net, like just and they're kicking and they're trying to get the ball in. Like kids are getting knocked down. Like I got this one kid who's like he's gonna be an expert flopper. Like whenever somebody nudges him or whatever, like he just you nudge him and he's like whoa, and he's like looking for a foul. I'm like, bro, man, you got to get up and keep going. That's amazing. There's no fouls at this point. Like it's just no holds barred. Yeah. But they sent me an email saying, since your kid's a new kid, we are lacking one volunteer coach. Your kid's not going to get on a team unless we have a volunteer coach. We need one more coach.
Oh, is that dirty or is that not? Or is that
what, dude? How it makes you feel like a horrible human if you don't sign up. So I sent an email saying like, in all caps, as a last resort.
Yeah.
I'm interested because I know nothing about soccer and I want my son to be able to play. It was like 2 seconds later, like, congratulations, you're the new coach of the so-and-so, whatever. And I'm like, seriously? Like, for real? Like,
wow.
Didn't even wait. So, yeah, we coached our first game. We did that.
The dynamics of that, I'm so interested in. It's weird. I'm not as into sports, but, like, just the dynamics of, I used to teach, like, rock school bands, kind of like School of Rock, and the dynamics of students and parents and kids. So that's got to be so wild.
Dude, I've texted more parents than I ever have in my life. You have to wear like this hat of being like professional and like you got it all together. And
yes.
And so I'm getting emails from this whatever Soccer MUSA, and then I've got to text all the parents, and I've got the parents that are like, I assume we're gonna have practice tonight or something like that.
Yeah.
When the last message I told them was like, unless I contact you, we will have practice at so-and-so. And so, like, the next day in a roll, it could be like 3 hours away. And they're like, I assume we're having practice because I haven't heard an update. And I'm like, yes, it's per like, the last text.
Dude, that's kind of like with worship team. Like, I just assume everybody has not learned the songs.
Yeah.
Even if I have the greatest team in the world and they've forgotten about practice. I assume that. Now, you've got a whole, like, family deal and everything else you do. So that's not... You know, I wouldn't expect, but that's kind of the way I do leadership. I'm like,
dude, this year of my life is not. I never anticipated coaching soccer, for my kids, but I do think my dad was a minister and dynamic man of God. Like I cannot complain about my growing up, my upbringing, but I think everybody who's fortunate enough to grow up with like your both sets of parents, mom and dad.
Yeah.
When you have kids of your own, you take the things you liked about their parenting and you try to do more of that. And then you take the things you didn't like and you're like, okay, I'm going to not do that. I'm going to do the opposite. If you want to be like, you really try to just put that into your kids. Yeah. And so one of the things we didn't get to do when I was growing up is we didn't have much. We didn't have a whole lot of money at times. I never want to pour mouth. We had all of our needs met. And there was always love in our house. But at one point we had five people in a 1-bedroom apartment.
Wow.
For like 18 months or something like that. Me and my brother, I think he was 16 at the time, or maybe he's 15 and I was 12. We were on bunk beds in the living room, and my sister, who was 6, was in a cot in the living room. Like that was our bedroom essentially. And my mom and dad had the 1-bedroom of the apartment.
Gosh.
So and everybody's situation is different. We had our needs met, but it's like, my parents were always busy working and stuff. So there was times where I was like the last person picked up from school, or I don't get to do this sport or that sport because nobody can pick you up from practice, or you're gonna have to walk home, or, and so those are the things that, like, although the love stuff in my family, like tons of it, nonstop, all the time, dude. Home cooked meals and just like learning about life. I mean, I know how to, kill game and skin it and all that jazz, and like just learning trade skills from my parents and stuff. But that's the stuff I wanted to be better about, is be more involved, come to the games, do that kind of stuff for the kids.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that I'd get to do it, but here I am, a soccer coach. Anyways, you have lived a lot of weird life this past week as well, like a lot of crazy things, man.
Yeah, well, what's interesting is the last time we were kind of here dealing with the podcast stuff, I had a friend that basically went into hospice care. And it was a situation where she's very young. She's like in her mid-30s. So it's like a kidney thing. And I was unsure, even as we were doing things, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, if she was even going to be like alive.
You were telling me that.
After each text. Luckily, they got her into the care and everything was good and everything ended up working out. But for the past kind of 3 weeks, I've been dealing with that. And then I actually went to go see her for the last time, which was super an interesting dynamic. On Wednesday and Thursday. So she lives in Michigan. I drove up there, and it was one of the coolest things I've ever done. So I just show up there, and like we played a show at the church. It's a huge church. It's like a 2,000-3,000 member church. So I show up there, and everybody kind of knows me from when we did the show. And then I'm trying to talk to her for a minute in a room, and then they pull me out, and they're like, "Hey, can you lead worship for us?" And I'm like, sure. And it was so cool because I got to play songs that she was requesting. And I don't know, I was just basically, I was supposed to only be there for a day, but like I didn't get like any alone time with her because people are seeing her in and out because she's kind of just saying goodbye to everybody.
Yeah.
So I got a hotel, came back the next day, and finally got like 15 minutes with her to kind of be like, look,
That's real life stuff.
Yeah.
That's like a little bit about Joel and Cliff, and the place we're in right now in these crazy times. But the weird thing about where we're at in society and the times we're living in is that that's not the stuff everybody focuses on. And you have something like that, like you got a friend in the prime of their life who's leaving this world. That's a heavy thing. That's real life stuff. But then we focus on the foolish things. Our entire society is focused on the most idiotic stuff, in my opinion.
Well, it's like everyone can agree. Okay, someone is like about to pass away. Let's be there for them. Mm-hmm. But then we have this stuff in society, like you're saying, that's based on like I would probably say 2 separate ideologies.
Yep.
That is like at war constantly.
Yeah, in America, there are 2, in my opinion anyways, there are 2 different sets of people living here. Yes. Like, and I don't want to say, like, I don't know that we've ever been this separated in terms of values in American history. Maybe at the time of the Civil War, perhaps, but I feel like those Civil War times, people were separated on just like 1 or 2 issues. Now you're separated on every issue.
Dude.
You got to check a box on every issue. You got to sign in and sign your name in on the sign in name the sign in list on your tribe in every issue, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, I mean, abortion, healthcare, immigration, gun control. I mean, like there's polar opposites of the spectrum.
And what's so wild too, and we've talked about this a little bit before, but I know you and I definitely fall into the more conservative line of thinking. You have 2 sides, and one side, which is conservatives, basically, now this is not our words, but they would probably say liberals are idiots. They don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the left, the liberal side, is basically like conservatives are morally deficient.
The struggle that I have is that the world seems obsessed with the dumbest stuff. They're obsessed with the things that don't really have any real value, that don't make a whole lot of sense. Like, so we mentioned it in the intro.
Yeah.
So Lil NAZX makes this devil or Satan shoe.
Who's Lil Nas X? That's a rapper?
Yeah, so Lil Nas X is a rapper. He broke out, his breakout single was Old Town Road.
that
song,
guy.
That song was
That guy.
that song was packaged as like this. Kids love it, man. The beat, and they love the kids are singing it.
Yeah.
And he said in original tweets, he said it's totally about a horse. That song is all about a horse, et cetera, et cetera. Now that this song has come out and the video, dude, I don't even watch the video. I've just seen clips. He's in like sexual positions with demons and figures and stuff like that in the video, and he posts a statement saying, well, y'all knew that Old Town Road was about lean in my bladder and was about all this, like it says all these lines. You knew what it was about, and now you're freaking out that I have a song that shows this imagery and I make a Satan shoe. And the company, so what happened was Mischief, or MSCHF, I've got the thing here.
Yeah.
Basically, they customized 666 pairs of Nike Air Max 97s.
Mm-hmm.
Customized them. There's a single drop of human blood in the red paint on every single one of in the shoes. They've got the pentagram in the shoe. And the whole thing seems like a publicity stunt, like an obvious publicity stunt, like to get people known. Talking about it. Like we're talking about it right now, and that's what I'm saying. Like the whole world's obsessed with the dumbest stuff and doing the dumbest stuff.
Do you think there's any motive other than? Because here's what I see when I've watched a couple documentaries on like the Satan worshippers and whatever, and it's not like necessarily what you would think. It's literally like a humanist interpretation of we are responsible. We're going to try to be good people on our own. Is that what he's trying to do a little bit or no?
What they call this is they call it gaslighting. And essentially, they do something so overtly perverse. Yeah. Or like just like Church of Satan type thing, or you do something so overtly perverse or culture, like counterculture, and to this degree that people say, well, you can't be serious. It's obviously a spoof. It's obviously they don't mean anything by it because it's so obvious. It'd be and they call it gaslighting. But in reality, what it's doing is desensitizing people to that type of material.
So when something crazy happens,
next time somebody else comes out with something like that, I mean, the artwork and on the boxes for the shoes, it's got like all these demonic looking individuals, these entities like all over each other. I mean, it's pretty crazy. And the thing that is a little frustrating to me is I feel like conservatives a lot of times I don't think they hold these companies to the same standard. I have an idea on this.
Okay.
Right? So publicly, they're against the shoe. There have been information's all over the boards, but they've been things saying that they want the shoe recalled. They call it defamation because they said that Mischief illegally linked Nike to the shoe, and Nike came out and saying, although these are our shoes, this is a model or make of our shoes. Mischief customized them the way they wanted to customize them. We have nothing to do with the shoe. So now they're suing Mischief or Lil NAZX, is according to some of these sources. And so my thing is, this is what I think goes down. I think there's probably already a deal in the works. If you're a big company like Nike, this doesn't happen without you knowing. Lil NAZX doesn't work with Mischief outside of your knowledge and make this happen, I don't think. So what I think is going down is you've got Nike and Lil NAZX and Mischief. They're going to settle outside of court. They're going to settle with, like, Nike says, listen, in public view, we're taking you to court. We're saying we want the shoes destroyed. We're saying all this stuff. So our conservative customers continue to say, all right, I would support Nike. But then what happens is they settle out of court, I think, and this could be totally wrong, settle out of court, and they say, we get all the profit from the shoes. Because the shoes are selling, they're sold out, and they were like $1,000 a piece, I think, retail when they first came out or something like that.
The one thing, I'm not even going to say pushback, that I would say is I just know all the time that like all of these big companies, they go woke every single time with these issues.
That's the interesting thing about what Nike did. They didn't come out against the satanic material. What they came out against was linking them to a product that is no longer theirs. It's like they linked them to Nike to this imagery. This Satan shoe is a customized version of a Nike shoe. So Nike's like, this has a chance to hurt our brand in some way. So because of that, we're going to publicly say you had no right to link us to that.
Right.
We want the shoe recalled.
Yeah.
But then here's what happens. I think they'll settle out of court. Nike will get all the money from the shoes. So they get paid on material that they supposedly don't like or whatever. So they'll get their money anyways. Probably $500,000 or maybe more.
Yep.
Which is a drop in the bucket to a company like Nike, but who cares? And then Lil Nas X and Mischief, or MSCHF, whatever, they will get all the publicity from this whole thing and because everybody's talking about it.
Merch sales, whatever. Blah,
goes
blah,
through
blah,
the nose.
blah, blah, blah.
Gazillions of views on that crazy new video of his new song, which again, I've only seen imagery and clips. I'm still never going to give him a view. Call me just a hard nose, but I'm not giving him a view, you know?
Like, why are you conservative?
I'm conservative. I vote policy and not people. Because in my opinion, almost all of the politicians are scummy. They're scummy at one point. They're scummy, like okay, and it's mostly propaganda. Like, okay, so Ronald Reagan, I can sit and listen to his speeches, and I'm just blown away. The guy is a fantastic orator, man. Like, he's a great, his speeches are legend. Like, they just get you riled up.
Yeah.
But he's just the biggest propaganda piece that there is.
Yeah.
All he did was he was an actor who could promote the propaganda of the right, which I'm a Republican, and he did it extraordinarily well.
Yeah.
But he in my opinion, was a little scummy. Like, they're always, you don't get to the pinnacle of politics and not be scummy. Yeah. You can look at it in, some of the stuff that Trump said that was embarrassing. That, gosh, I wish he didn't say it. Yeah. All this jazz, it's scummy. The stuff about tax evasion or whatever. Like, the guy is in the pinnacle of business. You didn't get there by being 100% brutally honest. So the guy is. There's some scummy, weird, shady, back-dealing stuff involved in it, obviously. And then you look at the current administration. In 2019, Kamala Harris was calling Biden a racist and a segregationist because of policies that he voted for in 1977, for the kind words he said about a former KKK exalted cyclops, whatever the heck kind of D&D Dungeons and Dragons stuff, wizard stuff that the KKK's got going on. She was saying that the allegations of the sexual misconduct that he had should have been believed. She was saying all this stuff. Less than a year later, she's like, he's the shining white knight, greatest person, and I can't wait to be his vice president. Yeah. So you can't say that any of these politicians, the people that say they're voting for a moral high ground, like, look, if you voted for Biden because they're the Biden-Harris campaign because they're more morally sound than the other one, you're just foolish. You're just uninformed. You're just foolish because they're not any more morally sound, not any less corrupt than the freaking other camp administration that was already in there. And that's, you could take my opinion, you could throw it under throw it under some rocks. I don't care. Yeah. But you look at their track record, they're doing exactly the same crap. The stimulus check that just came out, 330 million people it was supposed to be separated through, and it's $1.9 trillion. You divide $1.9 trillion by 330 million, and it's $5,700. I didn't get no $5,700.
This is why I'm conservative. The media, the left owns the White House. Yeah. They own Congress. They own the Senate. They own social media. They own big tech. They own most of the news organizations. Like, I know people hear about Fox News. I think that's a huge organization, but that's like the only real big conservative outlet. Yeah. Like, they own Hollywood. So everything is coming from the left, and you hear about these massive scandals coming from these people in power. And then the message from the right is not we are morally superior. It's liberals are stupid. Yeah. The message from the left and these organizations that own everything and are in charge of everything is if you voted for Donald Trump, you are morally deficient and a bad person.
Well, that was the problem of
That's an accusation. I don't want to. That's a heck of an accusation, and I want to use another word.
the Gina Carano deal.
Yeah.
Again, not consistent. So Gina Carano was
Star Wars actor in The Mandalorian.
In The Mandalorian. And Mandalorian is unless WandaVision overtook, it's the most popular show on Disney Plus.
And everybody universally was
Cara Dune is the character that Gina Carano plays. Fan favorite. People love that character. There was talks of her having a spinoff. Yep. She posted a couple tweets, one of them talking about how voter ID needs to be a thing, another one talking about the wishy-washy nature of what they say about masks and whether or not they work, and people's mask hating and hating anti-maskers and all this stuff. And then one final one where she was like, she compared people who hate other people because of their political beliefs. She compared them to the way Nazi Germany encouraged their citizens to hate Jews. Yeah. And
perfectly reasonable thing.
Yeah, whether or not you agree with the Holocaust comparison, it was like it was a legit idea. It's like, how is this any different?
And then Pedro Pascal,
2 years earlier, Pascal had did another Holocaust comparison.
But it was against Trump.
Yeah, it was about our border, and it was about kids in cages at the border, all that jazz.
Yep.
And it wasn't even accurate. It was a picture that wasn't even from the border. It was from a different country. So they didn't even. But here's the deal: Disney never got mad at Pedro Pascal. Yep. They never told him to take the tweet down. They never made any kind of stink about it at all. Yep. But they used that final tweet from Gina Carano as reason to can her.
And they said she had tweeted abhorrent things, and they have no future with her.
Abhorrent, denigrating people based on their race and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And so she was canned. And so, but again, how it's not fair, how it's not consistent.
Right. If Disney and all these places were conservative, I would probably call myself someone on the left, because I would be like, man, these people in charge of like everything, there doesn't seem to be a through line of like what they believe.
No, it's not consistent. And the reason, further proof of that is, so Gina Carano, apparently this week, there's a little bit of tiff between, and I'm not sure, I don't know the details, I could be wrong, but the allegations are that she was upset that the co-stars weren't defending her.
Yeah.
And her being terminated from the show.
Right.
I think Bill Burr, he defended her.
He almost did, but he knew that the people were going to come after him. He almost did.
So apparently she was like, I can't believe they didn't.Maybe she said something like they didn't defend me, and that upset her.
But these companies have proven time and time again, they do not care if they lose money. They are going to choose social justice.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
But here's where it's not. They're not going to choose social justice. Because here's where it gets more interesting.
Social justice.
Yeah. Here's where it gets more interesting, because you have the sort of like angel story, or the unicorn story of James Gunn, when cancel culture, if you want to call it that, attacked James Gunn. So James Gunn directed Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2. These tweets come out from him where he was, and dude, they are disgusting. Like, he was joking supposedly, but the tweets are disgusting.
I would fight dudes like that
about pedophilia,
yes.
like just cool. awful things.
Right.
And he said they're jokes, and everybody has a dark sense of humor and whatever. I mean, some people have a dark sense of humor, but
it's not something you put out there.
They were out in writing, and what happened to him is Disney fired him, Marvel fired him, and then all of the cast of Guardians of the Galaxy band together and said, we're not going to do the next movie unless you have James Gunn. And after Disney fired him, Warner Brothers hired him to do one of their movies. They're like, oh, you're not working for Marvel anymore? Okay, you can do, and he's directed Suicide Squad 2. Yeah. So it's like this Cinderella story of somebody that cancer culture tried to attack. And all of a sudden, this guy who did these terrible tweets, awful tweets, worse than anything Gina Carano did. Yeah. He's working for Warner Brothers. The cast bands together and says, we're not going to do Guardians of the Galaxy 3 unless you hire him. Right. And then Disney rehires him. So now the guy's working for both of the huge superhero companies. But here's the kicker.
Yeah.
The tweets were released by Mike Cernovich.
Yeah.
And the guy, Mike Chernovich, is a right-wing conservative guy who was in part of the Pizzagate conspiracy theory about the pedophilia rings and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He was the one who released the tweets on James Gunn. So you look here at a guy that, the source that released him, the people that are complaining about what this guy did are conservatives. Well, let's rally together and fight cancel culture and get him back and get him hired and let's go. But with Gina Carano, in her case, the people that are upset about the tweets she made are not conservative. So let's just fire her, and let's not rally together and get her back.
You have to be consistent. And what I see is a level of consistency in the ideology of the right, other than, the one thing I would say, kind of to the mask thing, is maybe conservatives, maybe just a little bit, could be a little bit more like, if we value life this much and we're trying to save people from going to hell or whatever, because I would say most conservatives probably lean to the Christian thing, then let's do anything we can to not have some old person that doesn't believe in Jesus die and go to hell.
Yeah.
So I think they could lean more on that side with consistency.
Dude, we are in... Something happened, man. Something happened so many years ago, I'm not sure. But we got to this point where we're on the North and South Pole on what we feel and what we believe. I don't know if it was the Your Truth area or your Truth era at that time, when the idea of somebody like my truth, you keep your truth. If
everything is subjective.
If that turned and made it where you don't know what to believe, you don't know what to trust, you don't know what to think, so let's just have somebody in power tell us who to trust and what to believe and what to think. I don't know if that was it or whatever, but dude, I just know that I don't know how to build the bridge between the two perspectives. I don't know how you do that. And I don't know how it got this far apart.
It's so interesting, kind of like with what I was saying back to like everybody has a very hard, strong opinion. I just know that the things that I have heard just heard people say when they talk about how could you ever, and no one said this to me, but how could you ever vote for Trump? How can you be such a terrible person?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, people on the left just don't know the facts. Like, that's the difference. And I'm like, bro, like...
I think, hopefully, as we continue to do more of these, maybe the quest for common ground is not so daunting, is not so difficult. But
the Quest for Common Ground, that's an amazing name, by the way.
The Quest for Common Ground.
The Quest for Common Ground.
The Quest for Common Ground. That may be what this series is called. When you want more content like this, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Click the notification bell, and keep being awesome, because that's how you made you.